Live from Charles Koch Arena at Shocker Volleyball on WSU TV as the Mustangs from SMU come calling, and Wichita State and SMU both with identical perfect records in American play. WSU comes in at 22 in the country. Shane Dennis alongside Denny Gehrig here at the Roundhouse, Charles Koch Arena. There you see the standings, and only one team after tonight will remain unblemished in the American. One thing to watch for here in the early going, Denning, some of the usual suspects have done a lot of the damage. Katie Hagerty may not play tonight due to injury. She's missed some time already this year and doesn't appear like she's going to play tonight, but we'll monitor that. Somebody who will, and if it's possible to have a quiet leader in kills, it's Tabitha Brown.
Yeah, the potential we saw in flashes from Tabitha Brown last season has this year evolved into one of the Americans' most explosive and versatile players. Chris Lamb tried her out at all 6 rotations last weekend, including some time at right back, and really the numbers just kind of speak for themselves. 15 kills, 15 digs versus Houston. She hit .324 for the weekend and is rapidly becoming the player Lamb thought she could be.
And if Hagerty doesn't play tonight, the only senior left would be Lauren Mills from SMU.
Yeah, one of just 2 seniors on the roster, and of course with Hagerty out, she will be asked to provide some leadership. She is an incredibly well-balanced player. 8 kills and 8 digs in all but 1 match this season. She's coming off 23 kills against Tulane. If she gets going, watch out.
The cream of the American crop here at the Roundhouse. SMU and the Shockers. Coaches, lineups, and first serve coming up.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
The first of 4 consecutive conference matches here at home. The Shockers and SMU after Wichita State dismantled Tulane and Houston on the road. Statistically, Denning, Wichita State generally does it offensively. SMU just the opposite. They're stingy on defense.
Yeah, the Mustangs really hang their hat defensively. Since the start of conference play, SMU leads the American in blocks per set. They're also tops in the conference in all matches in digs per set. They've got Kelly Brunstein at 6'1", Hagerty, who may not play, at 6'2", and Kennedy at 6'3". That trio at the net is a tough one for the Shockers to handle.
A couple of veteran coaches going at it. It'll be Lisa Seifert for SMU. She is the only coach that the Ponies have ever had. They are 70-14 in American Athletic Conference play since the league began. And, of course, Chris Lamb there on the left, just 2 victories shy of 400 in his career. Really 2 coaches second to none in those 2 programs.
Yeah, and Seifert is a coach who knows all about transitioning from conference to conference. He oversaw the transition from SMU to the WAC, to Conference USA, and now to the American. And, of course, Chris Lamb having to do that from the Valley to the American. So 2 coaches with a lot in common.
So the Shockers and SMU meeting for just the 4th time all time. This will be the 3rd time that Chris Lamb has coached against SMU. It's been a while, generally speaking. The Shockers won their only visit to Dallas back in 2012. That was the most recent meeting. They also met in Reno, Nevada in 1996. And SMU came here 8 years ago, and the Shockers won 3-0 in that one in 2010. We mentioned it at the outset, Denning. If Katie Hagerty doesn't play, and they're used to being without her. She has missed some time due to injury, but she played in all previous of the 6 matches that SMU won in the conference, but doesn't figure to play tonight. The injury bug maybe has bitten her again.
Yeah, she's a huge piece to their offense. First team all AAC pick last season. She was 5th in the American in kills and really, she just provides leadership. A redshirt senior who has been around this program a long time. She is here, but not in uniform, and will be asked to provide some of that leadership from the bench.
So Wichita State coming in on quite a roll. They are 14-3 overall, 6-0, and largely Denning untested in the conference. They've only dropped 2 sets.
And really, aside from that first set against Central Florida, in which they really struggled, there haven't been many opportunities for opposing teams to jump on them early and give them any kind of a challenge. It's been the Shockers pretty much from the word go, and they'll try and establish that again tonight.
Now, SMU is fairly young. As Denning mentioned, there's only 2 seniors on the club, and of those in the starting lineup, there are a couple of sophomores and a couple of freshmen. So we'll see how they handle this, what looks like is going to be a raucous crowd here at Charles Koch Arena, and an excellent start for the Shockers.
As they like to do, starting off matches, Wichita State tries to establish Abby Lehman in the middle. It seems to open up everything else on the flanks and the outside, and if you can get her going, it should be a long night for the opponent.
Lehman was nearly flawless against Houston, but then again, a lot of Shockers were last Sunday. Just getting started here from the Roundhouse. And point Wichita State. So far, so good. Looks like the crowd is energized, the Shockers.
Lehman and Hebert have gotten off to such a hot start in conference play. They're 1-2 in the American hitting percentage since the start of conference play, and we've seen Abby Lehman taking on a little bit more of an offensive role as this season has gone along.
Quick in the middle, and the Shockers are ready for it. Patterson tried the quick, but the Shockers have scored the first 3.
Right as I talked about Lehman and Hebert's offensive skills, here they get involved on the defensive side of things, each getting a block assist there as they time the jump perfectly.
Chivita with a serve that was tough to handle. Brown from the 10-foot line. That's Montana Watts, the libero for SMU. And another kill for the Shockers. It's all Wichita State to start with. Emily Hebert didn't really have to do a lot against Tulane and Houston, but she was her normal, efficient self.
Yeah, we've seen her start to look for her own attacks a little bit more as the season has gone along, but when she doesn't need to, when she can just set up all of Wichita State's other weapons, this offense is still pretty good.
Boy, Wichita State pretty much picking up where they left off against Houston, and they have scored the first 5, and Linda Seifert wants a timeout. So Wichita State hitting 750 in the early going. It's been all Shockers, 5-0 early in the first set. Hey, Shocker fans, you can catch the latest episode of On Pace with Shocker Track and Field. Episode 4 takes a look back at the Notre Dame and Kansas cross-country meets, previews this weekend's Bradley Pink Classic, and we get an update on a couple former Shocker distance runners, what they've been doing in races across the nation. We'll also hear a roundtable discussion on the challenges of recruiting runners at the college levels. On Pace with Shocker Track and Field, only on Wichita State TV's YouTube channel. Back live, Shane and Denning here at the Roundhouse, and boy, you talk about getting off to a good start, and if teams in the American have anything for the Shockers in the first 6 matches, well, this one's more of the same and maybe even worse.
Yeah, this looks like the Wichita State that I think Chris Lamb thought the Shockers club could be at the beginning of this season. There was some inefficiencies with the team's offense and defense early in the year, but they have started to really iron those things out, and here you see the defense getting involved, the block getting set up on that left side and turning aside the swing from Brunstein, and if there's more of that coming, Wichita State is going to be a tough team to stop.
Shockers have already been credited with a couple of blocks. And again, as we mentioned, it's still early, but statistically, Shockers have done everything in nearly a flawless fashion. Chivita tried to keep it alive, and Lehman couldn't do so, so finally SMU got on the board.
It's the first swing that Lauren Mills has gotten in any kind of a rhythm. Her other 2 swings were well off the 10-foot line, and the Shockers will let her take swings from there all day. Another kill by Abby Lehman. Preseason All-American
conference that is, but she's certainly living up to the billing as we showed you in the graphic.
And something you'll notice here, watch the timing of the block. As you'll see that initial blocker jump up into the air, you have to respect Emily Hebert's ability to go with that second ball quickly over. That frees up a blocker for Abby Lehman to attack.
You talked a minute ago, Denning, about Lauren Mills and her role in what will hopefully for them be a lot of attack attempts, and she leads the club in that. And, boy, you talk about when it rains, it pours. She looks like she took one off the nose.
I think it ricocheted off the court right into the nose. And it looks like there's some blood coming out. She'd been holding a towel to it to try and stop the bleeding, but not the start that SMU was envisioning.
Boy, I guess. Lauren Mills with 244 kills. That's tops on the team. She had a season-high 27 against UTSA. By far and away all season, whether Hegarty's been injured or not, she takes the most swings. And if she's limited here tonight, this could be a short night or a long night, depending on your view, which bench you're sitting on. This could get out of hand.
Yeah, you start looking for options on this SMU roster if Mills is having a tough time getting going, and it's hard to find any. But, yeah, it looked like just on the tail end of that on the ricochet off the court, this ball comes up and hits Mills right in the face.
She was the one on the back line trying to come up with the dig. She does have 3.27 digs per set. That also is tops on the team. So as much as we sing Katie Hegarty's praises and not likely to play, boy, she's gotten it out. She knows how important she is to her club.
Wow, she was laughing about it a minute ago, so looks like she's going to be okay. That is impressive to say the least.
You like to see that.
They're wiping the court now just to make sure that there wasn't any blood that got on the floor and checking for her uniform. That's not going to be easy to pick out blood stains on red tops, but hey.
So here we go. After a brief respite, it is 6-1 Wichita State here in the early going. Again, the Shockers offensively nearly flawless, hitting .800. 4 kills on 5 swings. No errors. Off the slide, that's going to go Wichita State's way as Kelly Brunstein with the attack error. 7-1 WSU. So Emily Hebert will do the honors for the Shockers. A rare attack error, as a matter of fact, the first one. It would appear the Shockers, do they want a tip ball and didn't get it?
Well, Wichita State started celebrating almost immediately after that, so I think everyone in white thought that was a point headed Wichita State's way, but not the case.
Great individual effort that time by Kendall Patterson. Keep it off the pony floor. Boy, SMU's been out of system, Denning. And a rare overpass there, giving SMU a little life. But it's been all Shockers in virtually every facet.
Yeah, how many points have we seen where there's a couple different Mustangs players going for the same ball? Yeah. Everything just looks out of whack right now.
So SMU, if possible, this early in the match, kind of hanging by a thread. Well, that was a great individual effort by Emily Hebert, but she didn't get away with it. Trying to tip it back to a teammate. And that may have been one of those times where she'd have been better off trying to attack like she does so often at the net.
Right. And a couple consecutive overpasses here from Wichita State. It was Mostrom that time who sent it just a touch too far. But Shockers don't want to do anything to give SMU some life.
3 in a row by SMU, and that goes by the boards. Alex Kuhn has been quietly efficient this year for the Shockers. She had 10 kills and hit 500 at Tulane. You talk about the model of consistency.
Yeah, Chris Lamb cannot say enough good things about her. He loves the way that she functions in this system and has really just been trying to get her more attacks with how efficient she's been.
Hannah Shelton with the serve, and SMU is really out of sorts. Shockers got the first 6, and then they basically played keep away since then, but SMU has really not gotten a good opportunity to get in their offense at all. And that one's wide, cross court. Seems like Kendall Patterson and Montana Watts, the setter and libero, have been sprinting all over the SMU floor trying to track down Shocker balls.
Yeah, no chance to catch their breath, no chance to get into any kind of a system. And Wichita State has completely dictated the pace of this first set.
Off the block, point Ponies. Kelly Brunstein, a 6'1 junior, one of the rare non-Texans, Highlands Ranch, Colorado native, knocked it through the block, and point goes to SMU.
And a girl who has really taken a big step forward in her junior season. She only played in 7 matches all of last year. This year leads the team in blocks, and has really started to come into her own.
Johnny on the spot was Montana Watts off the big swing from Wichita State. Brown, and Watts up to the challenge again. Just off the tape and a fortuitous bounce for SMU. They've crawled within 10-6.
Well, you can see the multiple ways in which they try and get Mills involved. That time a swing from the back row. She hadn't had any luck on that right side, and so just moving her around, trying to find opportunities to get clean swings.
That may have been headed out, but it was saved anyway by SMU to keep it going. And a poor attack attempt turns into a point Shockers. Allison Hughes for SMU, the 5'11 freshman, it looked like on the attack by Brown, kept one in play just before that right there that set up Wichita State for the point. But it's now 11-6 Wichita State, and now make it, well, that was point Wichita State. Now that's what I thought, 12-6 now. Shockers wrest control with a couple points in a row.
I think that one caught the top of the tape and then ricocheted out.
Boy, that one almost worked out for Hannah Shelton. Tip attempt by Brittany Adams for the Ponies. Adams again. This one took a little off, and the Shockers were up for it. Crowd appreciates the effort. Third consecutive swing by Brittany Adams. Oh, what a play by Hannah Shelton. And credit the Mustangs for surviving that rally. Lexi Nordman gives the Ponies a badly needed point.
That's the kind of play it was going to take to put that point away. Wow, back and forth. The Shockers able to keep a couple of really impressive swings off the deck.
Lexi Nordman right there, number 13, just a freshman from Michigan. Hebert digs it out. Well, Wichita State's basically kept SMU at arm's length throughout the first set. They've been challenged here and there, but after a fast start, they've kind of sustained it.
And Hannah Shelton has been everywhere. Look here, she just lobs it back over the net blindly, and it works out.
Now, before you think this is going to be some sort of a cakewalk for the Shockers, we mentioned the head coach for SMU, Lisa Seifert. This isn't her first rodeo, and she is certainly experienced and really had her way. They've run roughshod over the American at 70-14 since the beginning of 2015, and they're a great blocking team, as you mentioned at the outset. So you know they're going to make some adjustments.
Speaking of making adjustments, Emily Hebert has done that in her game, getting a better feel for that quick second ball over. But like you said with Seifert, this SMU team, back-to-back American champions. You know, they are kind of the team at the top of the mountain. The Shockers are the new kid on the block. It is really kind of a fascinating matchup.
Rarely have we seen that kind of exchange on the Pony side of the floor, where Montana Watts sets up Patterson, and then that's all she wrote in the middle with Lauren Mills. So Mills gutting it out with an injury to her nose, trying to dig one out a few points ago. And Tabitha Brown and Emily Hebert ran together. Hebert and Lehman had their way early in this first set, but SMU has made some adjustments, and they crawl a little closer. It's 14-10.
I think that ball that Mostrom dug out was probably headed long, maybe a little bit too close to call, but I heard a couple cries of out from the Shocker bench right as that ball was about to hit her.
Chivita dug one out that would have been borderline maybe as well. Shockers have never trailed here in set one. And a bullet finds the back corner, courtesy of Tabitha Brown. Tabitha Brown hit exactly .324 in both matches against Tulane and Houston last weekend.
She'd gotten off to a real slow start tonight. She was 0 for her first 8, hitting in the negatives. That's her first kill. And now it looks like they've taken it away.
She looked like she was shot out of a cannon from the back row. Another point.
Well, she got her first kill taking them back, but this time she comes right back and delivers a hammer.
So 15-11. Now your scoreboard totals are correct. Brittany Adams, a little change up. Chivita with an overpass, and the joust, it looked like SMU kept it alive and gave the Shockers some second life. I think SMU saw that one coming from Hebert there.
I think she missed time to jump just a little bit as well, trying to go with that quick second ball over. The Mustangs starting to make some adjustments at the net. Like you said, Shockers haven't trailed, but SMU has hung around.
SMU slowly but surely is dug into that 6-0 early lead, and Wichita State maybe caught a break there. They break up the momentum by the Ponies, now they now lead it by 4.
Ever since the first point of the match in which Hebert was able to set up Lehman and the timing was perfect, they've seemed a little bit off. Here it worked out as Lehman was able to adjust in mid-flight and still get it down, but there were a couple blockers there with him.
Somehow got it past Marin Kennedy, the 6'3" redshirt freshman. But back come the Ponies.
Brunstein is the girl who's kind of asked to take some of the weight off the shoulders of Mills, especially if Hagerty is going to be out. Brunstein's going to have to take up a lion's share of the swings.
Hebert a quick in the middle, and that's a good tonic right there. Abby Lehman strikes again, and Wichita State trying to lengthen it out once again.
The Americans' most efficient hitter statistically coming into this match, and Abby Lehman has lived up to the billing. She's gotten plenty of good swings so far and good opportunities to do work on some nice passes from Hebert.
Hannah Shelton serving for Wichita State. She has 8 service aces so far this year. Tried to dig that one out, and point goes back to SMU. So since that early set run by the Shockers, SMU has actually outscored Wichita State 14-11, but they're still 3 shy as we get into the later stages of this first set.
And a really athletic play there from Nordman on a ball that was almost behind her. Somehow reached back, still found some empty court.
Another attack error for the Shockers, and the Mustangs as close as they've been in a while. Maybe as close as they've gotten here in the first set, down just 2. This is what they're known for, their presence at the net, and that's forced a Shocker timeout. So the Shockers have never trailed, but SMU is now suddenly within 1 here in set 1. You're watching Shocker Volleyball on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
Well, even without one of their best players, the Mustangs survived an onslaught of points at the very outset, a raucous crowd that got into it, but SMU has settled down and they are right back in this set.
On a 3-0 scoring run to pull back to within 17-16, and Mustangs have been doing it basically with the way they always do, defensively, getting a lot of deflections at the net, forcing the Shockers into some uncomfortable swing situations.
Not the biggest swing of the night by Tabitha Brown, but it was effective, and the Shockers got a badly needed point. 18-16 now, Wichita State. Neither team's hit very well here in the first set after the Shockers were quite hot to start with. What an exchange there for the Shockers. See if they can scramble and keep it going, and just out. That would have been a miraculous point for the Shockers.
A good job by Wichita State after the scramble, getting back into some semblance of a defensive alignment. Emma Wright had to hustle back to the middle, and she was the one who I think got a fingertip to it, but just couldn't quite keep it in play.
Well, this is what SMU does. They're aggressive at the net, they're formidable, and you have to mix up your attacks back and forth. And the Shockers have been up to the challenge so far, but SMU certainly made the Shockers work for it after a slow start.
I know Mills gets a lot of the attention for her offensive game, but she has been really impressive defensively, putting her body on the line a couple of times to reach out and get some digs.
Big swing by Lexi Nordman. The Shockers, and miscommunication allows that swing to find the Shocker floor. And Mills strikes again.
Would it be too much to say that SMU literally got punched in the nose early?
They did.
And they have responded largely on the back of Mills, who now has 4 kills.
Finally, a howitzer makes it through. SMU really makes you adjust your attack angles, but that time it was just pure power for Wichita State.
And if you get right down to it, Wichita State goes to another level when Michaela Routzup hits the ball like that. Coach Lamb has said a number of times that when she is playing like a big-time right-side hitter, Wichita State is a completely different team.
And she was fairly quiet over the weekend in 2 big victories for Wichita State in which they took apart Tulane and Houston. Michaela Routzup, statistically speaking, didn't do a lot.
Yeah, didn't do much of anything. Just 8 kills combined in those 2 matches, hit negative in one of the 2. And so they need to get her back to the level that she was in the middle stretch of the season when she put up back-to-back-to-back double-digit kills.
Shockers trying to give the Ponies a little of their own medicine when it comes to blocking at the net. Great dig by Tabitha Brown, but Wichita State mishandles it, and we have our first tie of the set.
SMU really trying to incorporate the slide, and they've gotten a lot of good swings on it. The block has not been set up on this near side.
Well, there was a murmur through the crowd for a moment after the tie, but then they kind of got to full throat to help Wichita State out. Our first tie of the match. And the first lead of the match for SMU. Boy, they have come storming back after they got into a 7-1 hold to start the set.
Shockers just kind of shooting themselves in the foot. A lot of overpasses that haven't given Hebert much to work with.
No service errors by SMU either to help Wichita State out. The Shockers have had to really earn everything they've gotten.
I mean, it's all reflected in the hitting percentages. Both teams well below 200. It has been a grind ever since that hot start.
And that's what SMU wants to do. Frustrate the attackers of the opponent. See if the Shockers can take advantage of that. They turn to Abby Lehman from just inside the right pin. And so now the race to 25 becomes a sprint.
That was full extension from Abby Lehman. That ball was headed down in a hurry, and a big shout from the Wichita State sideline.
7 kills for Lehman unofficially. That's a heads-up play to get the Mustangs tied back up. Just a sophomore, Kendall Patterson, found some Shocker floor.
Really disguised that well, too. Looked for all the world like she was about to set to the outside, just guided it over.
Lauren Mills to serve. Chivita with one arm. SMU forges back in front, and this is a huge point here in set 1.
Brunstein didn't have a whole lot of room to work with down that near sideline. Snuck it inside the tape just in front of Chivita.
So the Shockers are going to call a timeout and talk about it. SMU is rarely led here in the first set, but they have forged in front. They'll be serving up 23-22. If you're out and about this weekend, you can check out the Shocker men's and women's bowling teams in action at the Mid-States Tournament. The women's team bowl at West Acres, and the men are at North Rock Lanes. Get out and cheer on the Shocker bowling teams at their only tournament in Wichita this weekend. Women's team at West Acres and the men over at North Rock Lanes. Shane Dennis, Denning Gehrig here at Charles Koch Arena, and Denning, after a tremendous start and in front of a very vocal crowd, SMU has shown what they're made of. They are not 6-0 in the league for nothing.
And they have played their type of game, I think. They make every point a battle. They forced you to take a couple good swings just to earn one. And while they haven't been an offensive juggernaut by any means, starting just 122 in this first set, they found enough opportunities, gotten into spots in which their best players can get swings, and have taken advantage.
They're a team that leads the conference in blocks per set and digs per set. So they do the dirty work, and they really make you earn it when you are setting up something offensively. So now Wichita State has come to this. They've got to get this next point here and win the tug of war to 25, because SMU serving at 23 in the catbird seat. Just long. Just long.
That was gutsy from Chivita to let that ball go.
I wouldn't want to live on the difference. Mills with a big swing. And that one landed on the tape. So as close as that serve came a moment ago, that attack attempt landed on the Shocker tape.
Wichita State got everything they wanted there. They got Tabitha Brown isolated on this near side, a one-on-one matchup against the block, but SMU rises to the challenge.
Marin Kennedy serving for the set. And there it is. The comeback is complete. So SMU takes the first set after falling way behind to start. Second set coming up. You're watching the Shockers on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee. Steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
Back after set number one, longtime sports information director Larry Rankin being recognized on the floor right now, as we see Director of Athletics Darren Boatwright, second from the left, and Missouri Valley Conference dignitary Jack Watkins in the house tonight. So, most inspirational award in Missouri Valley Conference is Larry and his family out there. Again, the longtime Shocker SID. Wichita State dropping the first set 25-23 in a set that they were in command of in the first part of it, Denning. But I think when you hold Tabitha Brown to 2 kills and 13 swings, Michaela Raudsep only had 1, and Alex Kuhn, who's normally very efficient, only had 1 swing and made an error that kind of kicked the door open for SMU.
It felt like, aside from Abby Lehman getting good swings in the middle, the Shocker offense was pretty much one-dimensional. Tabitha Brown couldn't get much going at all on the outside. Michaela Raudsep continued to be fairly quiet, and as you mentioned, those secondary pieces, including an Alex Kuhn and an Emma Wright, only contributed 1 kill between them. And when you get right down to it, when you only have 1 offensive weapon, it's kind of hard to be successful.
And when you talk about SMU, we learned basically right before the match, we noticed that Katie Haggerty was not in uniform. She had been battling some injury issues. It seemed like she kind of gotten over the hump because she played in all the conference matches, but not playing here tonight. She's, I believe, the fourth on the team in kills, so it's not like she's an integral part of their offense, but that's a piece. And that made everybody else have to step up a little more. Yeah,
at the very least, a big-time rotational piece who was going to be on the court quite a bit, who was going to factor into the Mustangs' offense and defense. And it seemed like she'd been battling an abdominal injury. Those can tend to flare up later, and so it just maybe something that she re-aggravated last weekend that's keeping her out. But they have responded in a big way to her absence.
Well, Lauren Mills and Brittany Adams with 14 total attempts. And conversely, Lehman and Tabitha Brown with 13 apiece. So it's basically a duo being set up by the respective setters. And it was a slugfest, as it turned out, especially down the stretch. Shockers got out 6-0 before SMU got up off the mat and started chipping away. It was 6-1 and then 7-4. And then basically it was a kind of a give and take back and forth before SMU finally took their first lead of the match, or in very late in that first set. And SMU off to a rousing start. They've maybe carried the momentum over into set 2. Marin Kennedy gets credit for the kill. She had 116 and hit 275 coming into this match.
Already has a 20-kill game on her resume from earlier this year against ECU.
Adams is getting a lot of swings, but not a lot of firepower behind it. And Wichita State knots it up at 1, a rare kill in the early going by Michaela Raudsep.
Just did find the blue tape on the back row. She had a lot of court to work with and made the absolute most of it.
Wichita State early in that first set did basically whatever it wanted to, and then SMU came back with some adjustments. They started playing better too. I think that was pretty clear, but it was almost like the turning point in that first set was when Lauren Mills took that shot to the face. It kind of woke the Mustangs up a little bit.
She certainly started to play better after that shot. I'm not sure how much it contributed, but kind of woke her up.
Kennedy with a cross-court attack that ends up wide. Now the Shockers have scored 3 in a row. That first set was only the 3rd in American Conference play that the Shockers had dropped all season long. 1 to Temple, 1 to UCF, 1 here tonight. Boy, that was pretty. 4 in a row now for the Shockers.
Well, neither one of these teams has lost since mid-September, so it's Been a while since they've been on the losing end of anything, and for the Shockers, it's been a long time since they've been kind of punched in the mouth.
Whereas SMU only has 2 seniors. Doesn't mean they don't have a lot of experience, but only 2 seniors. The Shockers, on the other hand, have a truckload of seniors. So they certainly have the experience, and they figured to understand that it's not just a one-set match. This is going to be a long process, so let's stay the course and be patient.
And you would imagine that coming into a match of this magnitude, a couple of unbeatens going at it, they didn't expect to roll through this one in straight sets. So they were prepared for a battle, and they've got one on their hands tonight.
There'll be some highs and lows during the course of this match, which figures to go a while. But Wichita State trying to even it up at 1 apiece here in the early going in set 2. And that finds a Shocker floor just in front of Mostrom. Gabby Mostrom, one of those seniors.
Brunstein's found a little bit of success tonight. She's got 4 kills already.
Kuhn denied at the net for the moment. Takes a little off this time. Nobody home, and Chivita bails out Wichita State. Heads up play by Emily Hebert. And the Shockers, after a long volley, end up going up by 2 as Emily Hebert with another kill.
SMU really not afraid to give Mills back row attacks, and Mostrom, again, with a little bit of an overpass there. Hebert kind of bails her out.
Hebert had 11 total kills on the most recent road trip to New Orleans and Houston. She has 3 tonight. Back comes SMU to make it 5-4.
18 attacks already for Adams, her 3rd kill of the match. She used the finesse game there to find some empty court.
So it's really been Mills with the heavy artillery and Brittany Adams. I don't know if it's by design, but with more of the finesse. Not a lot of finesse behind that one as Tabitha Brown delivers a bullet. Tabitha Brown leading the Shockers in kills, and coming into this match was hitting a robust 290. So not only the volume of swings, but she's been good when she's taken the attack.
Just played so well down in Houston. Well-balanced game, 15 kills, 15 digs, and in front of some hometown fans as well.
Boy, that seemed to be headed the Shockers' way when an errant pass nearly went over the scorer's table, but lo and behold, the Mustangs end up with the point. And it looked like that Hannah Shelton just couldn't quite sprawl out quick enough to keep it off the floor. Maybe Brown's found her mojo a little bit. That's 2 in a row for her.
That's big. And getting swings in rhythm. Whenever she does that, her arm speed, her ball speed, nobody else can match that on this Shocker roster.
That point actually went to SMU, so it is 6-6. That's unfortunate because that attack by Tabitha Brown was one of her best, but point goes to the Ponies. Brown got set up by Chivita that time. That one will go to the Shockers at 7-6.
I think the point still stands, even if the decision got reversed. That Tabitha Brown has looked a lot more comfortable over these last 3 or 4 points, getting swings in rhythm, getting swings headed towards the net, and the passes have been right on the money.
Well, she's always had the talent. She's always had the springs. Denning pointed it out at the beginning of the match that she's just now kind of trying to put it all together. And I don't know if it's confidence or what, but you can tell in her play that she's been one of the Shocker mainstays.
I think confidence is kind of what sums it up. Last year, of course, she was a transfer coming in, and a lot of that is just getting comfortable with your surroundings.
First service ace of the match for the Shockers. Alex Kuhn puts one down on the Mustangs floor, 3 in a row for the Shocks.
Don't see many of those against SMU. They really make you earn it, both in the service game and when you get in system.
SMU looked so discombobulated early in set one, and it wasn't just because of the result of Wichita State's attacks. They were scrambling all over the floor in the first set, and much more comfortable here in the second set. They've certainly found their footing.
And it looked like a team that didn't have any seniors on it, having to just kind of find their footing in a tough road environment. But like a team that had been through the rigors of a conference slate, they really gathered themselves, played much better over the end of that first set and into the second.
Well, they regrouped big time and not only made a competitive set of set one, they came back to win it, 25-23. Wichita State trying to wrestle command back here in the second set.
5 kills now on 20 total attacks for Tabitha Brown as she is continuing to get a heavy workload.
Both teams attacking better here statistically in set number 2, and that bomb went way deep. That gives SMU point side out. Well, SMU got the first point of the second set. Then the Shockers got the next 3. WSU has not trailed since then, but with a couple of errors, one on the serve and one on an attack, there the Mustangs are right at the doorstep again.
I don't think Coach Lamb's going to have any problem with that swing from Raudsep, though. She's at her best when she's aggressive.
And that will turn into a Shocker point right on cue. Raudsep's come alive here in the second set, much more aggressive.
And they need that from her. When she is at her best on the right side, the Shocker offense becomes a lot more multi-dimensional. You can't just focus on taking away Lehman and Brown. You have to take away a trio of weapons, and that's not easy for any defense.
And you certainly want to credit the game plan, too. They may have purposely tried to get her more involved here in the second set as SMU, though, comes back to get within a couple.
Mustangs have won a lot of those 50-50 balls at the net. Brunstein has been in the middle of several. The 6'1" junior from Highlands Ranch, Colorado.
Overpass. Shockers will try to regroup here. Raudsep winds up. Hebert to Lehman. That is a familiar refrain. Anytime the Shockers are in any bit of trouble or kind of out of sorts, those two usually hook up.
Yeah, that's generally who you want to go to whenever you need a point. And the Shockers did a good job of getting back into formation there after the Mustangs sent a couple good swings their way. Chivita setting up Hebert for Lehman with the put away.
And through the block, it'll go to SMU. Shockers can't seem to get much more of a 3-point lead, and the Mustangs can't cut it below 2. Trading points here in the last 5 or so minutes. Alex Kuhn with a little finesse.
Looking over at Coach Lamb, he just kind of looked down at his own bench, just shrugged his shoulders and said, well, take it.
Glad she's on our side. 14-11 Wichita State.
Don't think that was how they drew it up. But
maybe not. That SMU point gets them again to within 2. We've basically been trading points for about the last 5 for each club. Brunstein goes out for the Ponies, and checking in is Allison Hughes. She'll serve for SMU. Just over the top of the tape. Quick in the middle, Chivita with one-arm save. We've got a nice little 1-2 punch with Brittany Adams and Lauren Mills. That was mishandled by SMU, and the Shockers will go to the timeout with a 3-point lead in set 2. Wichita State 15, SMU 12. We'll be back after this. You're watching your Shockers on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
SMU took the first set in this match. It was the first time it had happened since UCF did so back on the 1st. And Iowa State, of course, taking the match back on September 17th here at Charles Koch Arena. This is the first of 4 consecutive games that the Shockers will be in this building. Tulsa comes in Sunday afternoon, followed by Cincinnati and ECU next weekend. But first things first, Shockers trying to even this one up at 1 set apiece. They lead here in the second set. WSU does 15-12. Shane Dennis, Denning Garrig here at the Roundhouse. We were talking during the break, kind of tongue-in-cheek, jokingly a little bit. It's hard to talk about who's going to wrestle momentum away when they're just basically trading points.
Momentum, just kind of a nebulous concept right now. Neither team has been able to seize it, and kind of befitting two teams that have been unable to seize the top of the conference standings, just going back and forth. The only 2 undefeateds coming into play tonight.
Most recently, SMU made quick work of USF and UCF, which the Shockers did basically the same thing.
Great anticipation by Chivita there.
One thing the back and forth has done is drawn the oohs and ahs from the crowd. And I think we're starting to see the true colors of SMU. That 6-0 run that the Shockers had to start the match was a bit of a mirage or a little bit of fool's gold. SMU is a solid club.
They really make you earn it. And I know we've said that a number of times tonight, but it just proves more and more true as we go along. It takes a couple of good shots, and Tabitha Brown, I think, was getting a little tired towards the end of that, but had just enough to put it away.
So 2 more quick points, and SMU is called the timeout as Wichita State is now in front 17-12 midway through the second set. Both teams really struggled with the attack percentage in the first set. Wichita State only 3 attack errors here in the second set, and a lot like the way they started the first set, they're playing well again with only 3 attack errors. That's solid.
Yeah, how's this for the first set? Only 3 Shockers had a positive attack percentage. Everyone else was at 0 or in the negative. So a lot of the options were limited in the early going, but since then, I think Tabitha Brown's emergence has been key. Michaela Rautzip has contributed a couple nice swings, and the Shockers starting to show that more well-balanced attack that we're used to seeing.
And with Halloween coming up, I know you'll be planning ahead to grab some spooky good deals on Shocker gear at the University Bookstore. The Spooktacular Patio Sale will be held on the 25th. That's a Wednesday, and then Thursday the 26th. It's from 10 to 2, the Radigan Student Center's North Patio. So if you're in the need for some new Shocker gear, here's your chance to get some spooky good deals at the University Bookstore. So we've kind of been here before. The Shockers midway through the first set looked like they had things under control, and SMU came clawing back and eventually won 25-23. So the Shockers trying to avoid that here in the second set, but here come the Ponies again as Brittany Adams, not exactly a thing of beauty and not a portrait of efficiency as far as her attack percentage, but she's getting the job done.
I think you said it best when it was kind of the thunder and lightning as far as Adams and Mills go. She seems to have a lot better feel for the finesse shots.
Hey, thunderous right hand by Tabitha Brown, and there they are at the net again, Denning. That's how they really get it done.
And that was junior outside hitter Eva Linden who got in the middle of that, their number 19, turning that shot aside.
And here come the Mustangs once again. Brittany Adams with the service ace. That's her 8th of the season, so 2 consecutive points for SMU, and the Shockers will call a timeout. So we'll come back with more as things tighten up here in the second set. You're watching the Shockers on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
SMU serving down by 2 in the second set. Shane Dennis and Denning Gehrig here at Charles Koch Arena. And much like the first set, Denning, it was all Shockers early. The Shockers looked like they were going to wrest control this second set, and here comes SMU again. It's now 17-16. I believe that's 5 in a row now by SMU. 4 in a row?
And so much of that has been the serve and pass game. Wichita State prides itself on winning that on a night in and night out basis, and they have not done it in long stretches tonight.
Well, we had a prolonged stretch of point counterpoint, and now it's been a game of runs. The Shockers had one briefly, and SMU's answered back to tie it up.
And we continue to see the versatility of Lauren Mills, taking a lot of swings from the back row, but this time moving up to that outside hitter position and getting a great swing.
Alex Kuhn with a big swing. The overpass turns into a Shocker point. Well, Wichita State back in front again, but we highlighted Tabitha Brown at the beginning, Denning. She's getting the lion's share of the swings. She's taken unofficially 30 swings already in this one.
Yeah, her season high is 61, and she very well may end up approaching that. She is starting to work her way into this, though. 8 kills now.
It's basically been Brown and Lehman with the attempts. And a rare mistake by SMU. Montana Watts not so sure. She may have gotten in the net there, but the Shockers will take advantage. Hard to tell what happened there, but Wichita State nonetheless 2 in a row to go back up 19-17. There's a big swing by Brittany Adams. Boy, what an adjustment by SMU in the middle. It looked like that Emily Hebert was going to dump it over, and instead she set up her teammate on the left side, and they quickly adjusted. And boy, that takes some athleticism right there.
Yeah, the feed to Hebert was just a little bit tight, so I don't think she felt comfortable going with that second ball over. Elected to feed right, And the Mustangs were able to slide over and make the block.
Both Brown and Mills have kind of been bottled up here in the second set, especially recently. And that one long. So the Shocker fans trying to implore Wichita State to get the next 5, or at least win the race to the next 5.
Don't see many swings like that from Mills where it's just well long. Typically she is about as good as they come, and putting balls in play, forcing the defense to do something about it.
It's only her third attack error. And beautifully done on the left side by Michaela Raudsep.
That felt like a big point. We had just gone back and forth basically the whole way. No separation. SMU with that run of 5 straight to pull back to even. And the Shockers with just a little bit of breathing room on a nice play by Raudsep.
And in trying to quell that momentum, a timeout taken by Lisa Seifert in her 22nd season at SMU. So the Shockers, Denning trying to scratch and claw, much like SMU did in the first set, to claim a rare set victory over Wichita State. So here we mentioned the 4-game homestand the Shockers are on, not including this one. We'll have Tulsa on Sunday, and then on Your View Cox channel on the 20th against Cincinnati. And then ECU comes to town. A couple of teams, you don't want to look too far ahead, Denning, but a couple of teams the Shockers handled pretty well, and USF and UCF. They'll make the Florida trip in late October.
Yeah, and it's this 3-game stretch upcoming that's kind of intriguing for the Shockers. Of course, you get the rivalry game against Tulsa, a Cincinnati team that started so hot but has kind of fallen off a little bit. And then East Carolina, who a lot of people predicted down towards the bottom of the American. They're at 4-2 and sitting all alone right now in 3rd place. So some interesting matchups coming up before that 2-game Florida swing.
And I'm sure the girls will be glad to be home for a while. The trip to New Orleans and Houston last weekend, but now the Shockers will get to be at home for a while. They've got a tussle on their hands here against SMU, although we figured they would. The only unbeatens in the American Conference are on the floor right now, the Shockers and SMU. From here, the Mustangs will go on the road for 3 more. So while the Shockers are home for 4, SMU goes on the road for 4. So let's check back the standings about 2 weeks from now, see if it's any different at all.
And SMU has not lost a true road match this year. They dropped 1 away from home, but that was neutral site to Virginia Tech. So they have been road warriors.
Kara Brown to serve for Wichita State, up 3, and now make it 4, and she'll do it again. Sophomore from Lincoln, as the Shockers try to even it up. Kara Brown, I'm sorry, Denning Kara Brown played in 11 matches last year. She's had a couple of tough to handle serves here late in the second set.
Now, to borrow some basketball terminology, the Shockers have gone small with Chivita, Shelton, and Bound all out there. And her serving run has gotten Wichita State on the brink.
Brown now serving for 3 in a row. Kara Brown. She almost had herself a service ace right there. Chivita kept it off the Shocker floor. And that is wide. Now the Shockers are serving for set point. So Wichita State faltered in the first set, but have come roaring back. Kara Bound has sparked this rally, I think, Denning. It's fair to say. Kara Bound, kind of the unsung hero here at the end, the closer, as it were. Shockers even it up. 25-18 in set 2. We'll come back with our feature of Hannah Shelton from Wichita State when we come back. You're watching Wichita State Volleyball on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Shockers even it back up at 1 apiece after faltering in the first set. They come roaring back in the second to even it up against SMU. Shane Dennis, Denning Garrick here just ahead of the intermission, and Wichita State,
I think volleyball,
the first of 4 consecutive at home. And one of the Shockers seniors, Hannah Shelton, is not necessarily willing to give up the reins as far as the defensive specialist just yet in her senior year.
I think volleyball is a very exciting sport to watch because it's so back and forth and so fast, and it's something that you can get emotionally invested in sort of while you're out there playing that I mean in soccer, when I played soccer, it wasn't something that I was like super exciting at all times like volleyball is. And I don't know, I think that's something that makes me more connected, is the emotional aspect that you can get on the court with your teammates and, you know, cheering after a big, huge point, something like that. That's something that I really like about volleyball. So I'm a defensive specialist, so I get to dig balls and serve, receive, and serve balls. I don't know, my position is just to pass balls, dig balls, get it up to Emily. It's basically how I can put that. Honestly, I love my teammates so much. Like, that's something that, like, they have such a spot in my heart that's like, oh, they're so awesome. But I just have like so many great friends and people who I want to, you know, have in my life forever on this team. I don't know, we've been here for a really long time. We've been through so much together, you know, starting off as freshmen. I remember freshman season was like, when I think about it now, it was terrible because we were so bad. Well, I mean, I thought we were bad compared to what we are now, but, you know, just going this far with all of these girls, especially the seniors, and, you know, every single person on the team, the freshmen are awesome even this year. Like, and they've become like such a close part of our team already so quickly. So it really is awesome. Like, you have these girls in your position that they know exactly what you're going through every single day. And they're like, they're there for you. Like, you're having a rough practice or whatever, and they're there to talk you up, pep you up, remind you why you're doing this. Yeah, it did go by really fast, and the season goes by so fast. It feels like I just got here yesterday, really. I can remember that whole entire day, my first day here, like, perfectly. But it has gone by fast, and it really is, like, it's really just bitter, not bittersweet at all. Like, I'm not ready for it to end at all right now. Maybe in a couple weeks when my body's had it, but as of right now, it's pretty much just sad. I'm trying to just have fun with it, enjoy the girls, enjoy you know, traveling these new places, having my family there, and really just taking it all in.
Word is that her grandparents haven't missed a match that she has played in, home or away. She has 10 digs tonight, only 4 more to get her career high, the senior from Valley Center, Hannah Shelton. A nice story about her. Wichita State and SMU tied up at 1 apiece. We'll take a look at some stats and much more when we come back. It's the Shockers on WSU TV.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State got incrementally better, Denning, as the match went on. SMU statistically got incrementally worse, but one of the best teams in the American at digs, SMU, kind of got the tables turned on them a little bit. Wichita State, with some hustle plays, had 52 digs in the first two sets. What did you see?
17 more digs from Wichita State is not something I think a lot of people would have anticipated, but I think much of it can be attributed to just the hustle plays, and that's something that Coach Lamb had specifically mentioned over this week, was that Wichita State fundamentally was doing a good job at digging out the balls right at them. But it's the balls where it kind of took a little bit of effort. The term he used was a ragdoll, a player who is willing to just throw themselves on the court to dig a ball out. Those are the balls that Wichita State is winning. That's the reason they're winning the dig battle, and that's the reason they won the second set.
I'm sure we'll see a few digs in the highlights that we've rounded up from the first couple of sets. Georgia Chivita statistically had 13 digs herself, in addition to Hannah Shelton's 10 and Emily Hebert's 9. Wichita State came out like a house of fire. They scored the first 6 points in set one, and it looked like it was going to be a runaway. Well, in the back of your mind, Denny, you're thinking, okay, SMU's not undefeated for no reason at all. They showed it in the first set, had a lot of resiliency, and it turned into a back and forth.
Yeah, their ability to bounce back early was pretty impressive. They turned around what looked to be a shocker runaway in quick fashion, and ultimately it turned into kind of an SMU set where they did everything that they wanted to, establish the flow of the game. And then as things wore on in the second set, I think Wichita State turned the tables there. They started getting those offensive weapons firing, getting Roundsep, Brown involved, addition to Lehman in the middle, and that's when things really started to turn.
So both of these teams fighting tooth and nail, going back and forth. SMU claiming the first set. The Shockers in a little bit more convincing fashion in the second, if you're into that, as WSU held SMU to just 0.38 on the attack percentage while hitting a more respectable 220 themselves. So we are even up at one set apiece as we approach the end of the intermission. Shockers evening up the match at one set apiece. More volleyball for you when we come back on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
Still a little ways to go. Shane Dennis, Denning Gehrig, in looking individually at the stats. Denning, Lauren Mills obviously was going to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And I know 2 sets doesn't make a match, but she's hitting 0.61 right now. You think Wichita State's found something there?
Well, I think what they've done is they've taken her away from the back row. She got a number of her swings when it seemed like she was just kind of the safety valve when SMU was out of system, and just said, well, we'll just throw it up into the back row and let our best player take a whack at it. And the Shockers responded to that. When she's on the outside, when she's getting swings from that right side hitter position, she is typically a lot better. But Shockers done a good job limiting her, hitting below 100 for the match so far.
5 attack errors for Lauren Mills. for Wichita State, although it's almost like a mirror image between Lauren Mills, statistically anyway, Lauren Mills and Tabitha Brown. Brown's taken a bunch of swings. She's hitting below 100 as well, so they both have been taking turns being frustrated.
Yeah, Brown was pretty much non-existent in that first set. Finally got things going towards the middle of the second, but she will need to keep it up. As we've seen, this Wichita State offense fires on all cylinders when they are getting Lehman involved in the middle first, force the defense to kind of compress and take her away, and then spread out to the wings with Rautzep and Brown.
So both teams have had a chance to regroup and rest up just a little bit for the home stretch. You don't often see a volleyball team, especially at this high level, come back from down 6 in a set. Now, granted, it was the first 6 of the first set, but still, SMU had a huge mountain to climb. They got over that, but Wichita State regrouped in the second set and ended up pulling away late thanks to some serving by Kara Bound. And just like that, Shockers draw first blood in the third set as Alex Kuhn puts one away.
It's a good sign for Wichita State to get Kuhn going. She's one of those auxiliary weapons who, if she is firing, then this offense just gets even a little bit better.
Knuckleball to Montana Watts, and a little dump across the net. Return to favor did Abby Lehman. Hebert dumped it right to Brunstein. Wichita State survives, gets the point, and Abby Lehman. She's had a pretty solid first couple of sets.
First player from either team into double digits in kills, as she records her 10th there on the overpass.
Rautzep with a pretty big swing. That'll find the actually off a hand and out of bounds, but point Wichita State. So Michaela Rautzep, you talk about a quiet first set. She was pretty non-existent statistically in the first set before she got up off the deck.
Yeah, early into that second set, I think she had 3 total attacks for the entire match. She is all the way up to 6 kills now on 13 swings.
And SMU is going to get on the board here in the third set. Kelly Brunstein had 14 kills in a match earlier this year against Texas State.
She's been struggling a bit as of late, though. Is hitting 160 or below in 4 of her last 5. So Mustangs will need her to get it going.
Rare service error. Both teams have been, while short on the aces, haven't exactly shot themselves in the foot in the service game either. But the Shockers will take advantage of that, and the 3-point lead is back. Georgia Chivita will serve for Wichita State, the Milan native, redshirt freshman. Battled some knee injuries early in her career.
Not only that, battled a language barrier earlier in her career. Really cool story came out on the Wichita State website this week about that, how Michaela Rautzep really helped her with that.
Miscommunication there on the Shocker side of the floor. Boy, and just a little change up right over the top of the block for for SMU, and nobody home for the Shockers. Perfect spot.
Brown recognized it, but she was just a split second late in that sprawling effort to try and keep it alive.
Marin Kennedy from Allen, Texas, with the serve for the Mustangs. She has to go near the bench to go flag that one down.
And when Lehman elevates, it is fun to watch. She hits the ball at its pinnacle. It is up and down in a hurry, and the ball ricocheted off the floor with some force.
I think it's safe to say that's a tough angle to handle.
Yes, I would agree.
From the ceiling.
The sky hook almost.
5-2 Shockers. Hannah Shelton, our spotlight during the intermission, to serve. Again, if you joined us late, one of their key pieces, Katie Hegarty, who had battled some injury issues earlier in the year, apparently is injured again. She is not in uniform tonight for SMU, but they have certainly acquitted themselves very well. Again, they have been used to this. She missed some time earlier this year already, so it's not as if it's a shock to the Mustang system, but They are one short here this evening. Now that point will go SMU's way. There you see longtime head coach Lisa Seifert. Hebert near the scorer's table takes a tumble. That was I suppose, an unforced error, so to speak. That'll be a service ace, but Shocker should have handled that one.
Shelton just did not dig this ball out clean off the side of her arm, and Hebert did everything she could going onto the table to try and keep that ball in play.
And not an easy play, but certainly with Shelton's prowess back there, you certainly expect her to handle that one. So now it's 5-5, 3 in a row by the Mustangs.
Well, those left-handed serves sometimes can have a little bit of funky action on them.
So here comes SMU once again. Kind of a seldom used Mustang. Eva Linden got the Mustangs with a brief lead before Wichita State countered. It's now knotted back up again.
Linden had not even played in conference action.
How about that for pushing some buttons? Chivita sets up Tabitha Brown. Watts in the right spot. Boy, Montana Watts taking her life into her own hands by getting in front of that one. Chivita wise to that little soft dump over the net, and Wichita State turns it into a point. Pretty good volleyball back and forth there.
That was some impressive stuff from Watts. Not sure if it was technique or self-defense, but she kept balls in the air and allowed the Mustangs to get back into some semblance of a defensive setup before eventually Kuhn on this right side gets a nice feed from Hebert and thunders it home.
She came into the match with over 300 digs, and Watts had 12 in the first 2 sets. So more of the same for her. She's #1 on the team in digs. Emily Hebert waiting to serve for the Shockers.
She's got herself a double-double, by the way, 26 assists and 10 digs so far.
Oh, Chivita. Again.
Wow.
Hannah Shelton getting into the act. Oh, finally a SMU point. Talk about you might want to hit it somewhere else.
Wasn't that fitting, though, that SMU has to win the point with their defense? They couldn't. Wichita State was kind of beating them at their own game in terms of digging out tough shots, and finally the Mustangs with that block able to turn aside the shot from Kuhn.
Hard to ask SMU to answer every single attack. Montana Watts is good, but she couldn't cover that kind of ground.
Now, something that I've been very impressed with from SMU is their ability to get back into a defensive alignment after a free ball over. A lot of times you'll see teams are kind of scrambling around. They're all out of sorts, and any kind of a swing is going to find some empty court. But the Mustangs really stay composed, and I think that kind of speaks to the general attitude of their team. When they're down, they are able to rally back.
Shelton saves the Shockers for the moment. Linden with a big swing. And finally goes Wichita State's way. Almost premature there. Was that Emma Wright, Denning?
I believe it was, and it looks like Seifert wasn't so sure. She went over for a quick word with the official, but big point for the Shockers.
Mills sent it over for SMU. Spins on the tape momentarily. And now Adams for SMU. That may have been off somebody's head. Michaela Raudsep puts it away. Shockers with a rare 3-point lead.
This is the Michaela Raudsep we saw early in the season. We saw at some points when she was getting double-digit kills with some consistency, a big-time swing, and I think you're right, Shane. I think that was right off the top of a dome.
Now the Shockers with a little bit of a run. This has been a pretty vocal crowd most of the evening, and I would venture to say, I'm going to go out on a limb and say we topped 3,000 here tonight. This is an excellent turnout here at the Roundhouse. Seeing some high-level volleyball, too. SMU had the Shockers in scramble mode there, and that turns into an SMU point. Julia Dibona, 5'5" freshman, has made her way into the lineup now, too. Raudsep with another bullet. And in comes Abby Lehman into the Shocker lineup. So 12-8 Wichita State, as both these teams kind of revving it up a little bit offensively.
Raudsep, more than any other Shocker, I feel like, feeds off the energy of the crowd, and she feeds off of her own momentum, too. When she's playing well, she wants more and more attacks.
Well, she's certainly got it going now. 8 kills and only 1 error. So she and Abby Lehman kind of doing most of the work on the attack for Wichita State. But I think they know by now they're not going to shake the Mustangs altogether. They may end up winning this, but it's not going to be easy the rest of the way. That first set proved that. And they're spreading the wealth a little bit. Alex Kuhn. Again, she had a career match against Tulane. 10 kills and hit 500 against the Green Wave. And that kill gives the Shockers a 4-point lead. And a block by Wichita State gives the Shocks a 5-point advantage.
That's exactly what I'm talking about with feeding off the momentum of the crowd there. Michaela Raudsep elevating to turn aside the shot, and she was pumped up too, headed back into the huddle.
And blocks and digs statistically is the name of SMU's game. But the Shockers are returning the favor more than a little bit tonight. Dibona with her first swing for SMU. Starting to see a little bit of the SMU depth now in set 3. And that kill by Hebert will bring us to the media timeout, but one way or another, SMU needed one anyway. 15-9, Wichita State, and a pivotal third set. We'll come back with more on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Shockers trying to take control of the third set here at Charles Koch Arena. If you're out and about this weekend, you can check out the Shocker men's and women's bowling teams in action at the Mid-States Tournament. Women bowl at West Acres while the men are at North Rock Lanes. Get out and cheer the Shocker bowling teams at their only tournament in Wichita this weekend. Again, the women are at West Acres, the men over at North Rock Lanes. Shane Dennis and Denning Gehrig seeing some pretty entertaining volleyball here this evening as the two best teams in the American locking horns. The Shockers have tried to wrestle control of this third set after dropping the first one to the Mustangs 25-23. And now the Shockers on a good little run here, Denning, as they try to pull away here in set 4.
And they're just
set 3.
They're really limiting everything that SMU wants to do. Only one player, Marin Kennedy, is hitting over 160 for the Mustangs.
And just finding the tape in the corner. Shockers leading a charmed life here in set 3.
Emily Hebert with a kind of a shrug of the shoulders there. She feels like she may have gotten away with one, and she didn't strike it cleanly, but there was so much empty court towards the back row that just did sneak it onto the tape.
Six in a row by Wichita State. And now a timeout called by SMU, trying to make sure that the Shockers don't go running away and hiding with this third set. You're watching the Shockers on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
Shockers on a big-time run here in the third set. They take an 18-9 lead. The Ulrich Museum of Art will feature Rodney McMillan in an artist talk Tuesday the 17th. McMillan's artistic practice utilizes performance, video, installation, sculpture, and painting to tackle issues of race, gender, and power within social history and culture. The artist talk begins at 6:15 p.m. in the Campus Activities Center Theater, coming up on the 17th. Wichita State on a 6-0 scoring run that prompted an SMU timeout. And scoring runs have kind of been hard to come by since that very first Shocker set. And the run will continue as now Wichita State on a big-time skin. 19-9 is your score here in the third set. Long scoring runs were no stranger to the Shockers down in Houston, though.
It's pretty much all one long scoring run
no
down
kidding.
in Houston.
They had their way. And now, for the first time maybe since the first 6 points of the first set, looks like SMU's wobbling a little bit and maybe getting a little fatigued.
You wonder if all those long grinding points may start to take a toll on the Mustangs and a roster that is significantly shorter than Wichita State's, and it's shortened even further with the absence of Hegarty.
And a mistake by Wichita State is the only thing that stood in the way of a 9-0 run. So now it's 20-10 here in the third set. Lauren Mills will serve for SMU. Lehman with a hammer.
This is Abby Lehman at her absolute best. This is All-American Abby Lehman on the slide here. The perfect timing on the pass from Hebert, setting her up, and with plenty of court to work with, she was not going to miss that.
Lehman has had matches this year where she's hit over 600, over 700, and over 500 a couple of different times. I mean, she is the the picture of efficiency, not only with the power, but maybe a little precision too.
And it helps to be precise when you've got a teammate who you played with for about 8 seasons, and Emily Hebert. Those two from Newton High School, to here at Wichita State have been together a long time.
Not that they don't work on this anyway, Denning. I was going to tell you, ask you about this before the previous timeout. But knowing if you're a Wichita State player that SMU is so good statistically at the dig game and the block game, you think you maybe kind of in the back of your mind want to step that part of your game up and show them you can play that way too.
Well, no doubt about it. And I think that the Shocker coaching staff would have emphasized that, hey, this is the kind of game we're going to have to win, because this is what SMU specializes in. This is the best that the American has to offer defensively, and the Shockers have risen to the challenge.
Brown in the middle of the floor with a little changeup, turns into a Shocker point. And now this is just basically a formality with the Shockers leading by 11 with only 3 more to get.
Not sure if it was intentional there from Tabitha Brown, but she saw a high hand off to the left and almost looked like she guided it into that hand on purpose just to try and generate the deflection.
Hannah Shelton serve. And off the slide, Chivita there for the answer. Boy, Wichita State operating at an extremely high level here in the third set.
And the slow start from Alex Kuhn in terms of her efficiency has completely taken a 180. She has been outstanding in this third set, part of a Shocker offensive attack that is pretty much firing on all cylinders right now.
18 kills unofficially and 1 attack error for the Shockers in the third set. You can't even ask for something that high level. I mean, talk about a well-oiled machine here in the third set.
To hit 500 against a defense like SMU's is unheard of, and I'm sure the Mustangs have not seen anything like that from an offense this season. A very impressive showing in the third set, but like we've talked about pretty much all evening, SMU didn't get undefeated for no reason. They're going to come back right at you in the fourth set and potentially even into the fifth, so this is by no means over.
It's been a tough game statistically for Tabitha Brown, but there have been plenty others pick up the slack statistically for Wichita State as they inch closer to going up 2-1. There's some highlights of the recent Shocker run that has spanned, I think, about 11 of the last 12 points.
It's been fun to watch. It's been Wichita State getting into system, getting opportunities for their best players to get swings, whether it's Tabitha Brown, Michaela Raudsep, or occasionally in the middle with Abby Lehman. And all 3 of those have really been at their best in putting on a show tonight.
You see there in the background, at once upon a time, it was 11-9 Wichita State on the highlights, and 12-2 later, the Shockers are knocking on the door of taking their second consecutive set. So Hannah Shelton will try to do just that, or help anyway. You got to credit Wichita State here in the third set, but SMU really fell apart over the last 12 to 15 points. Now the Shockers are right there.
That's 20 attack errors now for the Mustangs compared to just 13 for Wichita State. As you mentioned, just 1 in this third set.
Little house cleaning for the SMU side of the floor before the potential set point delivered by Hannah Shelton. Quick in the middle from Kendall Patterson, and SMU gets the point here to close within 12, but a lot of work left to do to make this one interesting. Hebert to Tabitha Brown, and that'll do it. So the Shockers, after 2 absolute bloodbaths, put it on cruise control in the third set, and now 1 more to get to stay undefeated in the American. More Shocker volleyball coming up for you right after this on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Well, the first match of 4 in a row at home. So far, so good for the Shockers after a bit of a stubbing of the toe in set 1. The Shockers trying to close out SMU, remain undefeated in the American, and go to 15-3 overall. Sunday afternoon, we'll be back at you right here on WSU TV as Tulsa comes to town. And then Cincinnati and ECU will wrap up the 4-game homestand for Wichita State. Former Valley member Tulsa. Of course, the battle is well documented in men's basketball, but Wichita State cranking it back up against Tulsa in volleyball as well. They'll try to keep the Golden Hurricane sliding a little bit.
Tulsa dropped their first set to Memphis tonight, but they have bounced back, taking sets 2 and 3, and are out in front in set 4. So looking to put away the Tigers. They would improve to 3 and 4 with a victory there. And of course, the Shockers, if they are able to close this one out in set 4, will be at the top of the American at 7-0.
And looking ahead to that 20th and 22nd duo, Cincinnati and ECU. Denning told you that Cincinnati got off to a red-hot start in conference play anyway after getting off to a slow start in non-conference. Cincinnati has since been dumped a couple of times. They are 4-2 in the league. And East Carolina, a bit of an upstart, as you mentioned. They're also 4-2 in the league. That's coming up next weekend.
Yeah, some teams that are just kind of battling for that second tier behind Wichita State and SMU. And speaking of just kind of battling, that's what it seemed like the Shockers had to do in sets 1 and 2. But in number 3, it was a completely different Shocker team, getting whatever they wanted offensively with any of their weapons, and it seemed like the Mustangs had no answer.
You see there the hitting percentage for SMU for the match. They hit 175 in the third set to get up to 105. And, of course, the Shockers with that 500 attack percentage in set 3 got them to a very, very good 282 for the match. So they have gotten incrementally better, figured some stuff out on the attack, Wichita State has. And generally speaking, SMU on the attack has been stuck in neutral. As, again, Wichita State has turned the tables on SMU. They are a dig and block team, SMU is, but the Shockers with 26 more digs and more than holding their own in the block game.
And such a well-rounded dig performance from them as well. 4 players in double figures. Tabitha Brown has 9, so she's about to join that category as well. And yeah, the blocks have been impressive. I think Abby Lehman, of course, is going to get the lion's share of the credit there, but Michaela Roudsup and Emily Hebert helping out as well, in addition to Emma Wright. It is kind of hard to really pinpoint any one player. It's just been such a great team effort defensively.
So we'll see if they can keep it going as the Shockers trying to put away the Mustangs. 2-1, Wichita State, after dropping the first, have won the last 2 in progressively impressive fashion, 25-18, and most recently 25-12, in which they destroyed SMU, hitting 500. And a rare mishandle by Montana Watts. They'll get away with it. Well, no, they won't. So you don't get those by Montana Watts very often, and they didn't handle that well at all. First point to the Shocks.
Looked like that serve from Ostrom just kind of rode on her a little bit, got tight to the body, forced her to bounce it high into the air towards the back row.
Roudsup with a hammer, and there to answer on the back row is Brittany Adams. And that's wide. Another attack error by SMU. It's 2-0.
Those are the kind of swings we saw early from Lauren Mills when you felt like, okay, Wichita State is in control, because when she is having to just kind of push balls across, when the passes to her are tight to the net and she's out of system, this entire Mustangs offense kind of goes off the rails.
Mills is hitting 0-45 on 44 swings. And even when she's had the good looks, there have been players like Shelton and Chivita to dig it out on the back line.
Yeah, those were two much better swings in that point, and still SMU couldn't get anything out of it. And a nice job to go quick into the middle there with Lehman. The Mustangs defense not set up, and plenty of empty court in the donut.
Off the slide, the Shockers were up to the task on the right pin. 4-0.
Second solo block from Michaela Routsep, who's been in the right place at the right time all evening. Come on strong.
Kelly Brunstein has had her moments here tonight, but she was stuffed at the net, and that's 4 in a row to start the fourth set. Good adjustment in the air there by Routsep on a bit of an errant pass. Through the block, point Shockers. In a match that was void of scoring runs seemingly in the first two sets, Denning, Wichita State putting on a clinic on how to reel off a bunch of points in a row. A little soft touch, and the Shockers keep that off the floor.
From the ground by Chivita.
And SMU finally breaks the streak.
Lehman, by the way, 1 kill away from matching her season high in that category, which came last time out against Houston. So you talk about putting together a couple of impressive matches.
She couldn't have been much better statistically against Houston. Just that one error with those 16 kills. Hard to match that. That's raising the bar pretty high.
She got off to such a slow start at the beginning of the year. In 5 of her first 6 matches, she hit below 300. That was not the Abby Lehman we've become accustomed to in her first 3 seasons here. But she has figured it out in a big way.
And answers again. Preseason All-American Athletic Conference. She and teammate Emily Hebert, of course, and neither one of those doing much to keep them off of that team once the season's over. They have had stellar beginnings to their final season here at Wichita State, beginnings in the new conference anyway. What'd you say, they were 1-2 in attack percentage in the league or close to it?
That's right, 1-2 since the start of conference play. That generally means your offense is doing something right.
They're humming. Routsep almost had the kill.
Nice play by Mills.
Answer by Adams to keep it going. About the longest rally we've seen here tonight, and it goes the way of Wichita State. Tabitha Brown was getting the lion's share of the swings in the first couple of sets. She's getting some valuable rest right now as the Shockers are nursing this big lead here in set 4. 7-1 Wichita State. Timeout Ponies on the floor. Wichita State looking to put it away. We'll come back with more volleyball action after this on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
And what was really a back and forth first couple of sets, Denning, Wichita State has flexed its collective muscles the last 2 sets. They've done very little wrong.
I'm not sure what the adjustment was in the intermission break, but whatever Chris Lamb had to say to his team, whether it was strategic or whether it was more emotional, they have come out clicking and look like a completely different team. Just had the Mustangs on the ropes ever since the intermission.
There was at least an 8-point run in the 3rd set by the Shockers, 7 of 8 to start the 4th set, and that's finally upset by Marin Kennedy, redshirt freshman middle blocker. Gets SMU a little life back. It's now 7-2. They've got a lot of work to do if they want to climb back into this one. Shockers are operating at a very high level.
Prior to that swing, everyone on SMU's roster is hitting below 200 in this match.
And Wichita State has 3 players over 300. Including Abby Lehman, who is hitting nearly 600. That's pretty incredible. The last 2 matches she's played in, with all the swings that she's had exactly 2 attack errors. That's incredible.
I've been told that is good.
I will concur. I also think it is good.
It's a new season high for her, by the way, in kills with 18. So. Getting hot at the right time.
Although we shouldn't be surprised because she previously in her career hit 1,000 during a game against Bradley. That will never be broken. And that's not just on a couple of swings. I think you need at least 10 attack attempts to qualify for a game high.
Yeah, just off the top of my head, I think she had something like 16.
That's crazy.
In that match. And there's a little bit of luck that goes into it, sure, but it's just positioning, it's just anticipation, and her work with Hebert, just having a feel of where the other one is, where the ball is going. It's just so much fun to watch.
Ball never comes off the side of your hand. There's never an unlucky bounce. To have one attack error with all the swings that number 22 has over the last couple.
And if you ever come to a Wichita State volleyball match, just watch how much those two communicate. They are constantly turned to one another, speaking about positioning, where they need to be set up, where they're going on the next ball.
And you'd forgive them if they ever run out of things to say. They've been together for a while.
Same thing as always? Yep.
Yes, let's do that again.
Let's do that one.
10-3 Shockers, and the fans are really having some fun now after a little bit of a nervy set 1 where the Mustangs spotted the Shockers the first 6 points of the match. They showed a lot of grit to win the first set, 25-23. But Wichita State has slowly but surely imposed its will on the Mustangs. A little bit shorthanded, as we mentioned, playing without Katie Haggerty, one of their senior outside hitters. And they will go to Memphis from here. Take on the Tigers Sunday afternoon. Tabitha Brown, after a good long rest, back in there for a couple of kills here in the 4th.
Just watch the way the entire SMU defense kind of flows to Lehman in the middle, or in this case, it's to Emma Wright. You have to respect the ability to go quick, but when you give that much room to Lehman, and eventually you're going to find some space for Tabitha Brown.
Well, the Shockers seemingly are one step ahead of everything SMU has in mind here, especially late.
Emma Wright and Tabitha Brown teaming up on the block there. Wichita State has now taken the lead in that category as well. They've got 8 blocks on the match.
SMU takes another timeout, but so far, at least in the last couple of sets, it's been an effort and futility as Wichita State has tried to run away and hide from the Mustangs and delivered them their first defeat in American Athletic Conference play. With the win here, the Shockers would go to 7-0 in the league, 15-3 overall. This would, if it holds, drop SMU to 12-6 and 6-1 overall. Again, Tulsa coming in Sunday afternoon for a match at 1 o'clock. Tulsa at the moment 8-10 overall, 2-4 in the American. And I would guess that if this score holds and the pattern continues, this will send a few shockwaves through the American, because I would think around the league, they would think, all right, we'll see what Wichita State has, because SMU's been the bully on the block since the Americans' inception, and now look at what Wichita State's done to them.
Yeah, there's no doubt that SMU had to be the team to beat, coming off back-to-back American titles and being undefeated in conference play so far. And anytime you take a team like that and are able to handle them the way Wichita State has in sets 3 and 4 here, it is going to open some eyes and raise some eyebrows for sure.
And it's not as if Wichita State's sneaking up on anybody. They were picked to win the league, but they didn't exactly get the unanimous vote. I mean, there was some debate on who would finish in the top tier. Wichita State certainly at the top, but Cincinnati, Temple, and SMU are all in the mix too.
And you ultimately have to prove it. You know, a lot of these coaches selected Wichita State at the top of the preseason poll just based on what they had coming back from last season, what kind of talent that Wichita State primarily brings in. But so much of it is going to be based on court evaluation, and the Shockers have shown why they deserve to be right in that upper echelon.
And I wonder how much of that, the voting I'm talking about, had to do with Chris Lamb, the head coach. I'm sure at least some of it.
I mean, I can't imagine otherwise. He's so well respected within the volleyball coaching community, and I think other coaches know he just churns out good teams year in and year out.
With a win here tonight, Lambeau will be looking for number 400 in his illustrious Wichita State career Sunday afternoon against Tulsa. And oddly enough, it would be his first match against Tulsa. The last meeting between Wichita State and Tulsa was before Chris Lamb was here.
And that's what I'm talking about as far as choosing Wichita State at the top of the preseason poll, with a lot of these teams never having seen them in action. You really do have to go so much based on reputation and the numbers. In both cases, Wichita State exceeds there with flying colors.
A little mopping of the floor as Wichita State continues to dominate. Last two sets have been all Shockers. A combined 39-17, Wichita State has outscored the Mustangs. Service error gives point side out to SMU. Shockers have treated a big crowd to an impressive last couple of sets. That attack, or that block, went out, and Alex Kuhn continues her solid play. I know you're a fan of hers, Denning. She's pretty solid for Wichita State if unheralded.
I just think she fits well into the system, and that was a good job just getting a ball off of a hand there on a pass that didn't give her many options to work with.
And that is an attack error delivered by Marin Kennedy. Boy, with a team this good, talking about SMU, you don't see many 10-point advantages in a particular set, but we've seen it back-to-back sets now. Boy, SMU can't do anything right suddenly.
This is 30 attack errors now for SMU. That's the second most that they have had in a match all season. They had 38 against Texas State earlier, but that was a 5-setter.
Mills with a rare kill, considering all the swings that she's taken here tonight. You knew she would, but Wichita State's more than been up for the task. Shockers slowly and methodically trying to put away SMU. After just a little bit of a hiccup, in case you're just joining us, in the first set, Wichita State sprinted out early and then allowed SMU not only to come back and make it a match, but win the first set. But about 10 points into the second set, Shockers started clicking, and SMU has had very little answer since then. Boy, Montana Watts almost headbutted one of her teammates diving after that one. kill for Brittany Adams.
Get Watts an ice bath after this. She has been relentless, diving all over the place. I thought the same thing. I thought she was going head first into a knee there, but she doesn't look shaken up at all.
Abby Lehman strikes again, and her statistical onslaught continues tonight. Boy, those last two matches. It's hard to overstate what she's done against Houston and now against SMU.
If it ain't broke. That about sums it up right there from
Sure
Lauren
does.
Mills. Just down on one knee. Sometimes you feel powerless against Abby Lehman when she's hitting from that angle at that trajectory with that speed. It gets down in a hurry.
Well, SMU hadn't been handled like this very many times this year. Rice took 3 out of 4 from them on the opening weekend at SMU at their own invitational. And they got swept against Virginia Tech in a tournament in Arkansas. But besides that, SMU has been playing at an extremely high level, but they ran into a shocker buzzsaw here tonight.
Alex Kuhn, by the way, has 3 service aces tonight. Nice little boost from the back line. She will get some votes from us, I think, in the unofficial, unheralded Shocker of the Year award. Just
no doubt.
Steady, consistent, does the little things. Any other cliche you want to throw on there, she's great at it. Just makes this offense click at a higher level.
Kuhn most recently had 3 aces against UConn in the opening weekend of the American. Yeah, I think the best way to put it is Alex Kuhn, we don't want to short her for her effort or statistics or anything else, but she just simply doesn't get the headlines. You know, the stars like Lehman and Raudsep, certainly to a large degree Emily Hebert, those are the ones you're going to talk about most of the time, but Alex Kuhn, productive-wise, is right there with them.
I think the important thing is that those are the names that our opponents are going to talk about most of the time, and so that's going to give her opportunities to shine, and she takes advantage.
And I think SMU would just soon get this over with and move on to Memphis. The Shockers 3 points away from turning their attention to the Golden Hurricane.
And you hate to use the term trap game, but you really do want to avoid any kind of an emotional hangover. Coming off a win like this against another undefeated team, it would be easy to treat Tulsa lightly.
SMU mishandles it, and now it is absolutely just a formality. Yeah, it looked like some Shocker got in the net. Maybe Hebert got a little over-aggressive trying to get WSU within 1 of putting this one away. It'll have to wait, at least momentarily.
I think they got her for a lift at some point here.
I think that's the second one of those that we've seen from her tonight. One was on an overpass, reaching over the net. Mills gets stuffed, and now the crowd rises to its feet. A huge crowd here tonight to see 2 unbeatens go at it. Will go home happy in the next Shocker point. Match point for Wichita State. Well, Wichita State, after a slow start, came on like gangbusters in the last 3 sets, and there is but one unbeaten in the American, and it's Wichita State. They dump SMU from the ranks of the unbeaten, as the Ponies now are at 6-1. Wichita State Denning goes to 7-0, and they'll welcome Tulsa here on Sunday afternoon.
Not many teams in the country, I think, could hang with Wichita State in sets 3 and 4. That was a different kind of level of volleyball, and the Shockers made a statement tonight, I think.
Absolutely did. So their high level of play continues in the league. Their winning streak goes to 7 as the Golden Hurricane will come to town. And again, this is one of the few teams on the Shockers schedule that Chris Lamb has not met before, especially in this region. The matchups between Wichita State and Tulsa occurred before Chris Lamb came to town, and so he'll get his first up-close and personal look at the Golden Hurricane, but obviously, statistically, Wichita State figures to be a heavy favorite in that. And you were talking about it. Don't have the hangover effect. Don't have the trap game effect. Don't let that happen. If they come out and play with the level of intensity they did tonight, that shouldn't be a problem.
Still a lot of work to do in the conference. This race is by no means secure, and I think it would go a long way if the Wichita State fans would come out and support them the way that they did tonight. With a crowd like this behind them, I don't think there would be any kind of an emotional letdown on Sunday.
Well, Wichita State polishes off previously unbeaten SMU in the American. The Shockers win it 3-1. We'll talk to you again Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock. From our broadcast partner, Denning Gehrig, I'm Shane Dennis. Thanks for watching Wichita State, the Shockers victorious on WSU TV.